I'll admit, I expected the next events to be a little more dramatic. I'm not sure why. Perhaps I've read too much fiction, and I feel the need to inject twists and turns into the mundanity of life. More accurately, perhaps, it's due to just how fantastical all our lives have been recently. Suffice it to say, the crew seems to have had a rather pleasant journey along the road to Absalom. They shared their stories a bit by the campfire, of which the notes from Talford further indicate his difficulty in understanding the people around him. Up to and including not realizing Aelin had a secret to keep in the writing of his book about his time as Vale. I must admit, that bit of information took me by surprise as well, but it seems almost obvious in retrospect. I'll have to find my copy and give it another read. Upon arrival, they faced the usual woes of the long wait in the caravan line at the infamous Sally Gate. But quite curiously, it seems they were expected by someone, to a fashion. They were able to jump a portion of the line and were directed toward an inn and tavern within the Westgate district. Once inside the city walls, they seemed to have taken their time to peruse the entrance markets. They had a mystery to solve, but I suppose no time limit to solve it. Arthur couldn't help but take part in one of the things he enjoys most: pastries of many kinds. Talford found quite some amusement in this, but rather unnervingly, he seems to have found much more delight in some local news that indicates the death of 2 entire groups of outlaws at the hands of a single killer. A major piece of Aelin's past, it seems, quite coincidentally recent to their arrival, and the news he received about his oldest rival. Keeping their profiles low, they sought out their one lead, and found themselves at the doorstep of a fine and rustic establishment, the Deloris Inn. Now, where did I put that book?
Dear listeners at home, I have a very, very serious question for you.
You know they can't answer, right?
They can in our Discord at unchartednorth.com/Discord. Freeman, I'm doing the intro here, okay?
I'm sorry.
Pretty big assumption they're at home, too. Just saying.
I quit the podcast. No, but,
Cam, you have the floor.
What is the wildest, meanest, craziest shit you've ever done as a GM or player? And right off the bat, Freeman wanted to answer, so I'm going to just point the finger at him and say answer.
Without any real warning, kill Raphael. Might be one of the, it's probably near the top, if anything.
Off screen, by the way.
Off screen. with
fridged
a nod,
Raphael.
with some approval from James, but without the proper context. I said, "Can I have permission to do what I want?" He said, "Yes."
Entrapment.
I killed him.
You call that in the industry.
I killed him.
You have
off
to tell
screen.
him if you're a cop, Freeman.
And I'm not. I won't lie that and I will say that I definitely did it for the shock value. I don't mind saying, but like I said, I have. There's more to it, obviously, coming along. But yeah, that was
That was to me feels like a very bold thing to have done, and I was a bit worried about it, and I asked the people about it, but I went forward anyway.
And I said it was awful, and you should definitely check with James first. And you said, "Nah, it'll be fine." Dear listeners, he did not actually check with me. I'm just
No, I didn't know. I did keep Cam in the dark as well. Yeah.
Well, it was a genuine moment of surprise in the room at the time. My God,
It sure was. It really took the air out of the room.
To be honest, to be completely honest, as soon as he said there was a corpse in the fucking corner of the hallway, I was like, "Oh, he just killed Raphael." Because it's exactly what I would do. It's exactly what I would do. And so at no point
Cam has inspired a certain amount of boldness in me in our conversations.
I'm a bad influence, listeners.
There is that.
For me, my most diabolical moment was having a player create a backstory with a family, and then having that family show up as a child sacrifice, and then sacrificing that child to buff the BBEG of the particular story we're in.
Jesus Christmas.
Yeah, no, I fucked up. It definitely made the fight very intense, which was good from a storytelling perspective, but from a moral standpoint, it was very bad, and I regret doing it because it definitely hit harder than I expected it to, because I don't have kids, but yeah, I regret doing that. And
Well, therapy's
fair
inexpensive,
enough.
so no big deal.
Yeah, therapy's super cheap. It's available to everyone at all
cheap,
times.
Yeah.
But that is the meanest thing I've ever done as a GM, was literally sacrifice one of my players' children.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Pretty heinous.
It was. But like,
It is. But hey, lesson learned, right? Sometimes you gotta do it the hard way.
and it's one of those things where like I asked the question of veils, lines, and all of those things to like check my T's, as it were, cross my T's and dot my I's. But I think that most people don't expect that level of fuckery. And I am very bold. If you do not tell me, hey, don't do this thing, then I guess you said it was okay for me to do the thing.
Which is why we started with consent forms on Uncharted North. Advance notice. Yeah.
And I also did the consent forms, but the player did not, think that who the fuck would kill a child?
Yeah.
Like who the fuck is gonna fucking literally sacrifice a child, pull their heart out, watch it catch on fire, and then I regret it. Like it was a bad call on my side, and I have learned since then to tone it down a bit. Not everything needs to be Warhammer 40k levels of grimdark.
Right.
And it's great. Now we have to have a consent at the beginning of this too.
Scoot, you said you were okay with everything.
Oh no, I'm fine.
It
wasn't for me.
You get what's coming. You get what's coming.
You know what? But as fine as I am with so many things, I actually have been relatively good because I've only ever been a player, and I was trying to think back, and I played a lot of homebrew when I first started at D&D 3.5, but nothing too heinous. Then I did Curse of Strahd with a good friend of the pod, Michael, and he DM'd us through that. And it was all a very loving bunch of players, and we were all, going through there together. It was great. Probably the worst thing that I did was I started killing hostages in our Starfinder campaign that we were doing before this.
Say, if you didn't bring it up, I was going to.
To the point where Freeman had to change my character's alignment. So
yeah,
I'd say that
one of
was
the
probably
only
it.
force alignment changes that I recall ever doing.
So when Tulok fucking literally murders knocked out people from Gilda, that doesn't cross your list?
No, because they're all evil.
It was what the thing he's brought up here is very different than those, like these, because if you the one that stands out in the Tulak murders for me is the one that you had knocked the Gilda had knocked out, and then everyone tied up. It was the Sugathi, and then re-woke up, and it still tried to hit your minds with its mind fog, so you knocked it back out, and then Tulak was like, "Fuck it, there's no chance of getting through to this thing." Dead, right? To me, that was the most stark one, and it was like the biggest example of just why he feels justified. And I think that was a cool moment. The thing is, Starfinder was very different. It's very, very different.
I didn't ask how big the room was. I said I cast fireball.
I don't think there's a way to morally justify killing hostages. That's all you really need to know.
Yeah.
2 words. They said it.
There's no Geneva in Galarian, okay?
I'm going to assume that Duncan's worst offense so far is putting too many puns into a single episode.
That is probably it. My worst character traits are completely derailing the conversation for the lulz. But too fucking bad. That's why you hired me.
It's your worst and best trait at the end of the day. It's a double-edged sword. That's what it is.
It's heavy weighs the crown. I honestly don't think I have many. Like, so far, all my characters have been pretty good people generally. I don't want to put too much of a spoiler on the live stream that we did, but my character did intend a heel turn that never got to happen. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Please don't take it personally if one of my future or current characters completely turns and just starts murdering people, because it sounds fun.
Are you talking about the Mark of the Red Mantis?
Yeah.
Oh god, that was such a good stream.
We had fun.
Check out our YouTube channel, listeners.
Yeah.
www.youtube.com/uncharted north.
Link in the description below.
With the question mark.
At Uncharted No. And you want to find out all the things that get taken out of the episode that are too spicy for podcasts, be sure to subscribe to our Patreon.
Oh, we're really shilling these days. I love it.
It's really fun. Yeah, we are such shills. James, you have something. I know you do. What's the most controversial thing you've done?
So I
oh Jesus.
I'm prepared to feel way better.
In these games, not in real life, in these games.
I actually feel like I'm a pretty decent GM. That being said, I have killed one of Freeman's characters outside of combat for the story, but I got his permission first, express permission. So I've done a Raphael, except I made sure that Freeman knew that B-Rock was going to get murked. Yeah. And that's why I did it, is because it really shook up our table.
Yeah.
I had one friend join one of our games, and he joined like in a combat, like that's how his character was introduced, and immediately went for the antagonist of the combat, even though it wasn't clear. Rolled a natural 20, ended up killing them, and as we do, I asked them to describe their kill. He's like, "Oh, well, I just reach in, grab their jaw, and pull their jaw out." I was like, "Okay, what's your alignment?" He's like, "Lawful good." I was like, "Not anymore. You are now lawful evil." He's like, "Why?" And I was like, "Well, you just jumped in, took these people's word for it that this was the bad dude, and then proceeded to murder him in a horrendous fashion in front of him to prove or establish your dominance. I am absolutely changing your alignment for that." And that person got pretty upset about that. Like we had talks about it for a long time, and I didn't understand where the hurt feelings were coming from there. But the worst thing that's happened to me as a player was that same person was GMing a homebrew game of 5e that was real loose, like real 5e loose. And I asked for the player buy-in. They gave me the player buy-in, and they told me all this stuff. And then we sat down to start playing, and they had essentially just done a homebrew of the Witcher world, which really pissed me off because I don't know shit about The Witcher. And he kept talking to us as players like we all were so familiar with this neighborhood and what these creatures are. And he's like, "Well, you've seen them before. You know what they do." And I'm like, I've never given a single fuck about The Witcher, much less enough fucks to play a full video game why wasn't this included
Right.
in the player buy-in? Or at least in any of our conversations, why didn't you tell me we were playing a Witcher game? And they had no answer for that, so I promptly dropped out of that 5e game. Like I'm not going to sit there and be part of a world
Right.
that I'm expected to understand when I don't, and that wasn't handled particularly well on their end. So I just immediately left the game. So, like we talked about last episode, listeners, get your players to buy in, because you'll find there are little things about every game that I either want to do or I don't want to do, and that kind of pressure and that dramatic reveal. That's how they presented it as a GM. Was it's a dramatic reveal of this villain from this video game series you've never played, and they're like, oh, it's such a big shock, and it worked for the other players at the table, which is great. I love that for them. I'm really happy they all had fun doing it, but it killed my enjoyment at the table just to be immediately left out of the joke with no forethought, no foremention. Like I felt so left out of that situation that I just had to leave the table.
Buy in or bow out?
Yeah.
Just cross out Bowser as the end of this campaign.
It puts in mind that as of this release, it's going to be months prior, but we very recently there was some discussion in the Discord about communication with players and GMs and how to make sure that some of those things work out smoothly. And it's not always obvious. It's not always obvious, but it is a very, very important thing to make sure that people are on the same page. And it my own trials and tribulations going through it have made me the advocate for meta talk. When we did the STT player buy-in, I was told at one point by someone that it was a bit too detailed, but I thought that better that than not detailed enough. And it was extremely in depth read all of this. It may not all make sense, but if something stands out as important to you, then I've done my job.
Yeah, there's a lot of homework involved to be on this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read every single book.
I learned to read.
You bastard!
You guys got paid?
Oh, fuck no.
What is paid? Website fees. That's all we get.
Patreon.com. No.
Thank you for all the patrons, though. Seriously, you keep this afloat. We could not do without you.
But yeah, I think I had slightly less player buy-in from Freeman than y'all, just to be completely frank.
You also had a good primer on what the show was about before it started. We were trying to figure this shit out as we went.
Right, you'd already
Yeah,
been
that's
listening.
true.
Yeah,
I had a solid 85 episodes worth of fucking things to go through.
And how many of them did you listen to?
85?
Cam's actually listened to them all. It's great.
You've listened to more than I have. That's for sure.
Duncan, I don't know how to tell you this, but you've listened to every single one.
In fits and starts doesn't really count.
Well, speaking of listening to things, let's listen to this innkeeper.
Nice.
I was gonna say we've continued our 2-week trend here of long intro bent, but I loved it. Good stuff. Yeah, let's set the scene here. You find yourselves now inside the Delarice Inn. There is no clientele inside, and you find that there are a couple of people, women sort of cleaning up in the room, and the man who answered the door ushered you in and sat you down at a table and has seen to whatever you have decided to drink or snack before joining you at the table.
Is it okay to smoke in here? Alfred lights a cigarette before they can respond.
He's about to respond, and then he sees you do it, and he turns over his shoulder and looks at the two women, and they give a bit of a narrowed eye in the direction of the table, and he says, we'd prefer it if you don't. We just don't want the smell for new entrants, as it were. No offense.
I see. So there's not a rule against it. And Talford takes a deep drag and exhales.
No. We just prefer to be buried amongst a busier room, is all.
And Talford just nods and...
Arthur tries to kick him under the table, but cannot reach.
His legs
Legs don't even reach the ground.
Aelin looks at the gentleman and says, "What is your name? And how do you know of us? Why have you brought us here?"
You sound just like my son.
Son of a bitch.
Had to, sorry, but
Shots.
we can cut that. That was really unfair.
Oh, I love it. You're not wrong. You're just an asshole.
Oh my god. That was so good. So the man clears his throat, and as he hears footsteps from behind him, and one of the women like walk up to a window and just like shunk open it up in response, and then they kind of almost stomp their way back behind the bar and go back to what they're doing. And he just says, "My name's Galt Delaris, proprietor. It's my wife and daughter back there, setting up for service. Suppose you're wondering why you've been brought this way."
Yes. What is your tie to Otari?
I have a son that I think is there. But, more than anything, I'm just hoping for news. I've caught wind of some of the goings on there, dangers outside of the town. I'm just looking for news, recent news, the situation.
Arthur's ears fold back as he looks down at the table.
I have my reasons to be concerned, as you might imagine. But, yeah, not many people come from Otari. Most people pass through there on the way from Diabel or to here, vice versa.
Well, I don't know what you've heard, but many terrible things have happened there. The day before we left was another attack, other than the first with the undead, and the most recent with beasts of the night, wolves. Who is your son?
He's a Delaris like me. His name's Gav, but I have reason to believe that's not the name anyone there would know him by. So I'm not really expecting you to report on him so much as just give me some idea of the state of the town. That's all.
The town is in shambles, when we left at least. Rebuilding. After the attack, as I said. I've been there for some time, but I don't know of a Gav. I'm very sorry.
Shambles, you say?
To shreds.
Aelin shoots a sideways look at Talford.
I assume lives were lost?
Many. Yes. The heroes have been diving down under the gauntlet. Word has spread of what they've seen down there. Horrible things. Cults, undead, despicable creatures, but we don't know very much. They come to town, heal, purchase items, and head back down. It seems as if they're fighting against time as much as the enemies.
And these heroes, they're currently intact, as it were.
Some, not all. Some have died. Some continue. Gilda, she lives. Sage Tulok, he lives. And Krugga, he lives.
Krugga.
That sounds familiar.
Did I just say Krugga?
Yeah.
I take it back, Duncan. This is the worst thing you've ever done.
We found it,
This
listeners.
is
We found
easily
it.
the worst thing ever done.
It's pretty chill.
You can see him like there's this mixed sense of anxiety and relief with this news. He doesn't know what to make of it, but there's this sort of inkling of hope inside of him, but he doesn't really seem to want to elaborate.
Krugga's ears do perk up at hearing. I assume he said Krugga normally, like a normal person would.
Yeah.
Yeah, not like some idiot who would just say,
Yeah, like, normal name like Krugga and Krugga.
Which, by the way, maybe is a word that Aelin, is a name that Aelin heard when you went back to town and were helping before you left. Maybe Aelin didn't even know Krugga before then, or even that name, because Krugga's yet another hermit off in a different part of the forest and stuff.
Yeah, so he'll perk up at that, but he also has not heard of any of this stuff going down because he was gone the whole time. So he's kind of like taking it in for the first time and kind of taking in the gravity of the situation.
And Galt says, he turns to Arthur. I had my friend watch the gate for any travelers from Otari. Didn't quite expect to see another Shuni, though. I mean, I suppose it's maybe a little bit expected, but I recently met with one. Not the sight you see in Absalom very often. That is why I was a bit shocked when I saw you, Master Shuni.
You must have powerful friends in order to have someone watch at the gate for those from Otari.
I do all right. Lots of regulars here. Some I've considered confidants. They understand the plight that I have right now, myself and my family. They are sympathetic. So they've kept an eye out. I've never asked them to do anything untoward or outside of their line of duty, but they appreciate me and I appreciate them, and well, the family goes beyond myself and the ladies there, as it were. You can imagine.
Arthur so desperately wants to ask about this other Shuni. Like, every fiber of his being is calling for it. But he does what he always does, and he heads in the other direction. Mr. Delaris, would you care to tell us of your plight? And he gestures to an open space at the table.
And Talford blows a ring of smoke in his face.
In whose face?
But the innkeeper.
Jesus Christ, it's just rude.
He definitely sort of like just waves it aside, but obviously breathes some of it in, and says, "No, I would not. My plight is not your problem, but I see a look on your face, if I may, that mimics mine when I look in the mirror. The Shuni that I saw. He was from Otari. I met him nearly the same way I've met you.
Arthur immediately sinks in his chair.
Friends at the gate. His name was Raphael. I don't have anything for you, sadly. Other than that, he had met with a woman. Captain of a ship. Unimportant business. But the reason he stands out is because he was asking about something that my son was asking. Something to do with the Harovek's family. I gave him what I could, which is very little. The same I gave my son in a letter. And he went on his way.
How long ago was this?
It is currently the 5th of Lamachan. This would have been around the 1st.
math. That's 4 days.
Amazing. About 4 days ago.
And Aelin looks at all his companions around the table and turns to Galt and says, "This is Arthur, and the reason why he is so quiet right now is because Raphael was his nephew, and he has died."
You could see he just turns like almost ghost white. The blood just rushes from his face. And the two women in the back stop what they're doing. And they can't pretend they're not listening anymore with that statement.
We are here following his trail, trying to find out what happened to him. We know that he was searching for information. He was following the path of 2 ancient detectives. I know this sounds crazy, but we too are going to try to find those same detectives, or at least their trail. Find information and see what happened to him. He was wrapped up in something bigger than we know. But we must find out what happened to him.
There was a well of some sort in this image. Books flying everywhere. Do you know of such a place, Mr. Delaris?
He gives a hard swallow. You can see him holding back the welling up of the tears in his eyes. He says, "Perhaps I should have asked more of them. I have nothing to give you. There are many, many books in Absalom. It's famous for it. It could be anywhere." And suddenly the younger woman from behind the bar walks out. And she says, "I know where he went." And he turns and it's like, "Aileen, what? Excuse me?" She says, "I'm sorry. Sorry, Papa. But I followed him. I talked with him. He went to the Foray Logos. And he just sort of hangs his head. I guess it's the most obvious one, isn't it? Are any of you familiar?
One to answer James' question real quick, cut this, but it's Aileen.
Okay. Is that spelled differently than Aelin?
Yeah.
Yes.
Double E.
Did I say Aelin?
No, you said Aileen. I just assumed it was the
okay.
same name. That's why I threw my arms up.
I was wondering
same
your big
voice,
gesture
same
was.
name.
I was like...
This is amazing.
Also, I wrote this when I never thought that this recording would happen.
Right. No, it's pretty cool, man. There's an episode of Voltron, the Legendary Defender, where they're playing a sci-fi D&D, and the main guy keeps coming back. He's like, and his brother, the Paladin, Biro appears. Like every time his character dies, he's got another brother who shows up who's just got the same name with a different first letter, same class. That shit is so funny to me.
Yeah.
I rolled an Absalom lore in the chat. It was fucking garbage, so...
It doesn't matter. You have Absalom lore. You have that, and you're from Absalom, and Talford definitely knows. The Foray Logos is the library of Absalom. It is one of the most prestigious monuments and landmarks and famous libraries in the entirety of Galarian. One of the biggest, most vast vaults of knowledge to ever exist. It is the reason the Scholar's Law exists and why every book must be checked at the gate.
Talford looks around at his compatriots like, yeah, we know it. Like, and then when he realizes that no one else but maybe Aelin knows it, is just... For a brief moment, you see dumbstruck across his face.
Like, how do you not know this? Yeah.
Yes, I've heard of Four Loko.
Craig is nodding along like, that's my favorite dance.
The father, a little bit dumbstruck, still himself from his daughter stepping up. He just sort of shakes his head. It's all right, Aileen. What else? What else do you know? I don't know much, Papa. I just know that's where he went. He was following rumors of the Harovexes and old tales. I guess it was just the obvious place to go for the oldest knowledge. They were from a long time ago, I guess. Do the Harovexes mean anything to you? She addresses all of you.
Yes. Word has come around town that Belcora Harovex developed the vaults underneath the Gauntlet. That's where the evil is coming from. Or at least that's a rumor. We don't know much, but I know that name.
Well, I guess that's your next best bet.
I suppose we know where we're going next then.
Yeah, there's a bit of an awkward air in the room now, as everyone is quite still and sort of not quite despondent, but definitely pondering. What's the word when you're just
Ruminating?
Despondent.
Pensive.
pensive and ruminating. What would I do without you? what would I do without all of you?
Thinky, quiet, folks.
We've established what you do without us. Encounter me. We gotta get to combat. I need to start spending some of this hero points. This economy is gonna needs to start flowing.
Oh God.
Well, I suppose we know where we're going next, and if we come across any information, we'll let you know. About Otari, about your son, about Raphael if you wish. Thank you for everything you've given us.
If it would please you, Mr. Delaris, in exchange for this glorious and wonderful lead that I cannot thank you enough for, and you, Miss Delaris, I would write you with news of Otari every week upon our return until you find your son again.
Galt just sort of lump in his throat, nods,
Gulps.
thank you. It would mean the world to all of us. And then you can hear weeping from behind the bar as his wife just like exits through the back door, and then Aileen runs back to make sure she's okay.
Talford stamps out his cigarette on the table and then heads out the door.
Such a prick.
Yeah, right next to the ashtray.
Right on top of Gold's boot.
As the person that invented all this, I'm moderately displeased.
Take that, Scott's imagination.
Yeah. That's what
I
you get
put
for
my
thinking.
cigarette out on Scott's imagination.
Arthur attempts to write his address out for Gull, but he doesn't write in common. He only writes in Shuni, so it's just a bunch of thumbprints in different directions.
That's fucking amazing.
This is what you get for not giving us combat, Freeman. We're gonna start naming now.
Yeah, we got dogs putting paw prints on letters now.
I think the ridiculousness of that and the to be able to have a whole written language of individual Shuni paw prints is so absurd that you can have a hero point.
I can't. I'm full. I've been full since we started. But I appreciate that. So in my defense, I'm actually basing it off like Old Gaul. Like it's a very like an Old Norse is very simple languages. It's essentially just lines with flourishes in different directions. Like it's not a complete language. It's like ASL, right? I'm assuming that's what Shuni would be. This isn't an old species who would have had time to develop a written language for wolf. Or at least in my head canon, that's how it works.
Yeah. I feel it. That's awesome.
Instead of cuneiform, it's canine form.
There's the hero point.
I'm also full, but thank you.
That was
no more hero points for anyone from here on out. All right. Well, Galt gets up from his chair and he just kind of head down. Says, I better go check on them. Finish your drinks, and thank you.
Look for my letters. I promise I will find someone who writes in common to pen them for me. But you will receive news, Galt, Mr. Delaris. This I promise.
I appreciate it. Best of luck to all of you.
Okay, so should we head to the library? Can we head to the library? Do we know what district it's in? I guess Talford Nayland would know.
It is famously in the Wise Quarter.
Krugga, begrudgingly, will be going, spitting the whole way.
Yeah, seriously, this is like your fucking nemesis.
It is amazing that you.
Oh, it is like walking into the lair of the BBEG right now.
But literally millions of BBEGs.
Pop-up book, my worst nightmare.
Is Krugga just the page master? Is that the story you're telling?
I think he may be the page master. The movie that everybody remembers.
Definitely, everybody remembers. Really, you don't know it, Scott? Oh, damn.
I don't either.
Oh, it's Macaulay Culkin,
it's
Christopher
Super-
Lloyd,
it's-
and Patrick Stewart. And
It's a way better
like-
Super Nintendo game than it is a movie.
it is a stacked movie.
It's pretty wild.
Well, now that we've firmly planted ourselves in this conversational cul-de-sac,
We walk north.
You head north, finding yourselves marching quite a ways along a main road, eventually arriving to what's called the Ivy District. And it's a short jaunt through that district to the Wise Quarter. The Wise Quarter is a hub of exciting education and knowledge, as they say. It is a place of higher learning where academic institutions take root. This is where the Arcana Miriam is. Which Talford, again, probably knows quite a bit about. And these institutions are tucked on the west side, away from the ladder streets of the government buildings that also make up the quarter for their home. It basically just, at all times, teams with students, educators, scribes, pages, lobbyists, politicians, and most importantly, the learned guard. And as you make your way through the Wise Quarter, you find the famous Foray Logos, a very ancient structure, something that is strangely beyond imagining. It is large, but far large. It's like the TARDIS. It's far larger on the inside than it is on the out in its way. It looks like this. It is basically a Mayan temple meet a pyramid with its sheer it's very sheer faces on its walls leading up into a point, but with one particular staircase at the center that leads to an entrance. At the entrance, there are what you would, in IRL terms, call telemon columns. And they kind of wrap around the top, starting at the entrance. And there are 33 steps lead up to the entrance. There's a massive flat roof and sharp angles. It's very common in Aslanti architecture. And these telemon columns are 50 feet tall, and they immediately depict the 12 guises of Eridan. The particular guises that flank the door and the entrance are the scholar and the artist. And as you approach the start of the steps, it looks daunting to climb. And I have no doubt that you hear a bit of a weary and wary bleating from Goku.
I doubt it. He's a fucking goat. Goats are good on hills.
Yeah, but based on the way James has written Goku, he's a bit of a complainer.
Oh, yeah. He's absolutely a bitch about it. But, this is like real exercise for Goku for the first time in God knows how long. Like
it's steep.
Yeah, Goku's not a thin goat. Like, he takes after his friend Arthur. But yeah, I think he's fine. Like, stamina wise, he'd be fine. It's just a quick trot through the foreign quarter, maybe a half hour or so.
I don't mind saying that one of my earliest notes was Arthur is going to dread and be panting by the time he reaches the top. But that was before I forgot Goku was a thing, and then you built him into your build.
Before I took the Beastmaster archetype.
Yeah, basically.
Rega's just obnoxiously jogging next to them, going at a walking pace. Cardio's important. Hey.
Just so you all know, there are a few books in here that you do not want to read.
Rega spits.
Yes, there's one called Gerd. It's a self-aware, intelligent book, and it's always trying to escape and get back to Opara. Don't listen.
Interesting.
Yes, there's The Dwarven Smear by Gaspard Voshi. It's a bit of a racist rant that contains at least 14 different encoded dwarven poisons.
I will try to avoid that one as well. Any more?
There's a rubbing of the Shield of Eridan, potentially depicting all 12 pieces. I personally haven't found that one yet. There's the words of Voxkai the Reader by Voxa, and it contains a word that can both grant and revoke your literacy. So if you like being able to read, don't read that one. And if you don't like to read and want to, read that one.
Getting awful philosophical over there.
No, there's nothing philosophical. These are magical books that can permanently change your life.
Cam, do you have the 4A logos on Pathfinder Wiki open right now?
Maybe.
You can have a hero point. That's great.
I'm full up. I need a combat Freeman. There's nothing. There's no rolls. There's nothing to spin him on.
It's not my fault. You've been knocking it out of the park, the whole lot of you. Scott, are you full in hero points?
Sure am.
Okay, well, I'll just stop offering them then.
Stop offering them until we get into a combat. Don't just stop offering them.
Nope. You're done for the adventure.
What about Goku? He's not full yet.
Yeah, he's a pack animal. Let's just load him up with hero points.
Nice.
Yeah. Goku gets hero points. He can only spend them on retaking the same action. No rerolls. Do you enter the 4A logos?
Yes, let's get into this.
Okay.
Remember, the Gerd. Stay away.
I don't think they'll just have those books on display for us to touch and read. Wait, will they?
We walk in and just see the Gerd like trying to do the little Mission Impossible sneak across the column of the wall, like
It's just hanging from the ceiling by paper clips.
That one book just doing its best. You walk your way up the stairs. A little bit of panting and annoyance probably from Goku. But it's a bit of a trek, but you get up there. People make it daily. And you probably even see some insufferable people who love to make it a literally daily thing for themselves. And they've got the fantasy equivalent of protein shakes and in little canisters. And they're like, let's get to the top, go back to the bottom, do it again.
I used to live in a walk-up apartment. It sucked. It's like the gross grind of.
It's the gross grind.
rods.
Yes, that's gonna, yeah.
A bunch of maguses out there pumping iron, reading books with one hand, doing real mentat shit.
You step into the foyer and lobby of the Foray Logos. And you can see that it's reasonably busy with bustling librarians, visitors, officials, etc. There are stalwart members of the Learned Guard that are stationed at the entrance, watching everyone and everything that passes through its threshold. Stepping up to the front desk, there's a human clerk that glances up briefly and then down again. And as you get closer to the desk, they reach over to whatever the fantasy equivalent of a Newton's cradle is and pulls one ball aside and drops it. And as soon as it impacts, this illusory mouth pops up from the item and begins to speak. And it says, "Welcome to the Foray Logos. Please sign the guest book with your full name, purpose of visit, and which wings you intend to enter. There is no entrance fee, but any books for which you wish to have a copy made can be registered on the way out and applicable fees paid in advance. Any damage to Foray Logos, a collection of art and literature, will incur steep fines administered and adjudicated by the Scriveners Guild and enforced by the Learned Guard and Starwatch per the Grand Council's ever-standing Scholars Law." As you're watching this mouth say these things at you, you can note that like one of them just disappears and another one springs up in its place. And it just continues the previous set of words in this fluid motion that is completely seamless. And it continues, "Under the founding laws of Absalom, not a single page nor piece of art may leave the Foray Logos without the unanimous consent of the Grand Council. Punishment for subverting these laws are grounds for minimum sentencing of incarceration for 5 years or a maximum sentencing of execution." In total, you see 6 mouths pop up as this effect of Newton's cradle then stops itself.
Talford just sighs and rolls his eyes.
Yeah, it's like really typical. Then the clerk glances up because he hears a bit of a light bleating from Goku.
I think he actually probably hears chewing. Looks up and the goat's just gnawing on the front of his desk.
Just gnawing on the
Gnawing on the
trying
desk.
to escape.
Yep. So he looks up, he sees it, and he just claps his hand really hard on the desk. It probably startles Goku a bit. And he just says, "Any support animals must also be registered along the caretaker's name in the guest book. Damage of any kind incurred by these animals will involve additional fines. Remember, the Learned Guard is always watching." And he just goes back to his work.
It's not allowed for a librarian.
Arthur reluctantly dismounts Goku and brings him outside and just ties him up at the top of the stairs.
You can bring him in. He's saying you're perfectly allowed to.
Yeah, I understand that he's allowed to. I also understand how goats work, and it's just going to eat everything. Like, goats love paper.
Or stand on top of something. Aelin steps forward to sign the book.
All right. And there's this massive ledger that when you kind of look at it, if you go to like move a page almost, it looks impossibly large, but somehow functions, and you get a feeling there's like maybe some magic elements to it right out of the gate.
Talford signs the book next with a flourish of frustrated ease.
I'm interested to see what Krugga does here.
He uneasily scrawls a K.
And Arthur?
Arthur just puts a paw print in the book and asks for the well of books, where he can find that.
The well of books, where you can find what?
The well of books.
And the guy's like, "What's a well of books?"
And Aelin leans over his shoulder and says, "Or perhaps the genealogy section."
Oh, genealogy, right. Yeah, just head through the main entrance there and you can follow the signs. You'll find it.
Can we show them the recording rod and like the recording on it just to get them an idea of where we want to go? Is that possible?
You could do, but let me just quickly ask Scott why he wants to go to the genealogy section.
Because in the recording that we watched, they mention going to the genealogy section and searching the Horovexes, and then I believe one of them shows the other the book, and then he said, I thought they were dead, or something like that. But I know that they're in the genealogy section looking for family trees.
That would have also earned a hero point. But you can't have any more.
I'm rich, bitch.
Yeah, so you don't get the feeling you would need to with that, at least not for now, if that seems to be the case.
So they head back.
All right. So the main entrance is right behind the front desk. And as you step through, the main entrance really leads into like this really relaxing sort of like pond area with a little bridge. And there's like this really relaxing atmosphere, probably to help relax visitors the moment they walk in. Kind of put them at ease. And kind of subdue them, and any sort of like you can imagine the 4A Logos gets a lot of like extremely eager, even angry people looking for information to sort something out, and you get the vibe that this area is meant for that. And as you step through and over the bridge, there's another door to the north that leads through, and again there's just so many people coming and going, guards everywhere, and lots of like greenery and soothing kind of sights and sounds, some ancient statues and books everywhere, even in the entrance. Just books upon books upon books.
This map is beautiful, by the way.
It is beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, it's by Che and Peku. Expect more of these going forward. And they absolutely just, it almost looks like they don't care where the books go, so long as they have books. Though you can imagine there must be some sort of organization to the whole thing. And as you step through beyond this sort of antechamber, this proper antechamber to the library at large, Arthur catches the eye of someone again. And someone begins rushing over. Master Shuni! Master Shuni! Oh, I can't believe it. We hardly see any of your kind. And it appears to be this little halfling woman just walking over with a handful of books. Oh, I can't believe my luck. You're the second I've seen in as little as a week or so. What brings you here?
We are looking... No. I apologize. My name is Arthur of Arastek. These are my traveling companions. We come from Otari, and we are looking for information about the Shuni who is here recently. Perhaps you would be willing to indulge us in some information if you would be so obliged. He was my nephew.
Oh, yeah, yes, I can do my best. I mean, I don't have much time, and I don't know what I can offer you exactly. But I met with the Shuni a week ago or so, and they were quite pleasant. And sorry if I'm so excited. I did my dissertation on the relationship of Shuni and Arrowden, so it's really, really exciting for me to meet one in person, because we don't get too many of them in Absalom. Maybe you've read my dissertation. It was on the nature of Shuni hospitality, cooperation, and optimism, and how it contributes to the long-standing legend of their creation by Aradin's hand, and why their pacifism and antithetical position on war can serve the marker of all. No? Yes. Okay, that's fine. No.
Talford is ready to fucking talk about it. If you want to roleplay this, I am able.
She barely waits for a pause. She's like, assumes you don't know. No, that's fine. Again, I don't have much time, but however, I do have I happened to notice your nephew while through here before. I happen to know that he left a letter with the mail service within the 4A Logos here. I could retrieve it for you if you'd like. He left it for anyone curious, I suppose, about him.
If you would be so kind, that would mean everything to us in our search.
Oh, but of course, wait right here. Have a seat if you like. Peruse a book. I'll go communicate with them. and she just sort of like rushes off and away from you.
Arthur just sits down on the carpet.
As she rushes off, Talford finds a small seat, sits down, and lights a cigarette.
She runs around the corner, and as you sit down and kind of look around the room and take more in, you notice that there are all these pneumatic tubes along the ceiling and all of this like sort of technology that's where all these things are like zipping through back and forth, and you might imagine, or at least I think Talbot would probably know that that's part of the mail service system. And she promptly comes back as soon as she can with a little curled up note in a tube, pulls it out, and hands it to Arthur. Here it is. I hope this serves you well. Best of luck with your research and everything. I've got to go. See you now. And she just runs off again.
I did not get her name to maybe read her paper.
Oh, my name is Beamish Fairdwelling. And then she runs off again.
It's cute. She is correct that Shunies are almost entirely hospitable. She misses out on a few of the finer details of what can be described as Shuni aggression when things are when placed between a rock and a hard place.
Perhaps I should introduce her to my cousin, Jack Russell.
He sounds quite formidable.
He was a fancy wrestler here in Absalom at his time. Has since retired.
Oh, wait.
He's a real black goat of the family.
So Jack Russell was actually one of my backup characters. He was a wrestler monk.
It's amazing how much backstory to the family of Arthur is.
Seriously.
I'm very pleased
so
with
much
it.
detail. Yeah. If we get down to brass tacks here, we can really very much assume that Arthur is holding this note, this letter, with great care.
Before I take the final plunge, I've decided to retrace my steps and leave a trail of what I have found. I hope no one ever has to follow it, but it is my only contingency, should I not survive. My thoughts are murky, and maybe I'll become lost, but maybe I can preserve my findings. This trail was left by others before. The detectives were the first to tread it, I think. Whoever came between them and me traced it and tried to hide it, though I am unclear as to why. I desperately hope whoever follows yet again will see the danger for what it is, and only use the information I have found here to stop it. Uncle, Arthur, if it is you, I am so very sorry, but you may be the only one I could have ever trusted. Please, be far more careful than you ever were with me as a pup. Whoever is reading this, there is a tome called The Whispering Reeds. Know that the writings within are dangerous beyond imagination. Know that the irony of trusting this information to anyone that simply comes along is not lost on me, like it was the author of that unholy text. Some things really should be destroyed for good, but the material source of evil is at its time needed to stop the evil from which itself has created. Follow the detectives. Activate the rod where they once stood. There is another trail to follow that belongs to someone else. I believe it was created after they were here. It's near where they stood, but it is deep and ominous. Erasma, love and preserve your hearts and minds from you, from the plunge, as she did with mine. But plunge you must.
Finishing the letter, trying to wrap your heads around its contents, you notice that there is something written on the back as well. You flip the page over, and there seems to be a 4-stanza, I guess, rhyme, and then a series of random letters below it.
I'm feeling strange, like I'm sort of mixed up. Nothing seems quite right side up. How can things be red, have changed in this light? And yet right still comes from left, and left still leads right. Lopo, Appy, Ween, Ladar, Oga, Ita, Ndutter, Mukas, Kifa, Retre.
Jesus Christ, Freeman.
Reads the jumbled letters.
I thought the listeners got to know, but I love how you just started laughing when he said ween, even though you wrote it.
Yeah. Well, that's my favorite Dylan song.
I think that's the first Sigur Rós album.
Yes. Written in Hopelandic.
Mr. Weinma, Mr. Rollein, do these letters mean anything to you?
Nothing to me. But this type of thing has never been my forte.
May I see it for a moment?
He hands the letter to Talford.
I am going to use strange script.
Ooh.
He has such familiarity with obscure text that you can compel them to reveal their secrets. Once per day, you can touch a single text, such as a tome, a wall of hieroglyphics, or something similar, and understand its meaning for an hour. If the text is in multiple languages, you gain the ability to understand them all for the purposes of reading the text. If the text is in a code or cipher, you don't automatically understand the text, but you gain a +2 circumstance bonus to checks to decipher it.
Yo, what up?
I didn't see that coming.
Freeman looks annoyed. I love it.
I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna quickly peruse that. Yeah, let's go ahead and roll me that applicable check with that +2. Happily, for sure.
That is a 6 for a 20. And if that is not a success, I will hero point that right away.
It is a success enough to give you some insight, if not the solution.
Okay.
The insight is I have a clue ready here for you, which I'm going to reveal. I think will show up on the Journal Foundry for you. The clue is that when the phrasing of the riddle above refers to direction, you can determine that it is referring to the order in which we normally read, as in left to right and then up to down.
Can you repeat that one more time because it didn't show up?
I'll repeat the phrasing of the riddle. It says, I'm feeling strange, like I'm sort of mixed up. Nothing seems quite right side up. How things can be read have changed in the slight, and yet right still comes from left, and left still leads right. Long, silent pause on the episode.
Yeah, I'll need about 9 hours to decipher this.
Shut up, everyone. I can't think.
Knowledge, wait, hang on. I got this.
Is power.
Nope. THE. I got the first word, knowledge. Okay, KNOWLEDGE, and then OFTHE of the paranormal at
I'm so fucking confused right now.
knowledge of the paranormal Scott, I'm a genius, all right? Like I am a highly stable genius, okay?
What is this witchcraft?
Knowledge of the paranormal. Hang on.
Cam's got it. Cam's got it.
Okay, so if you start reading, just read the first letter of each word, each phrase.
Oh my God.
From the bottom left up. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Jesus Christ.
Nothing seems quite right side up. It's not right side up, but everything is still left to right. Listeners will have this hopefully just screenshotted on the Instagram for you to follow along.
Normal at the
Something tapestry, I think.
the dark tapestry.
That's it.
There it is.
That's it.
Knowledge of the paranormal.
Colon the dark tapestry.
Yeah, there we go.
Hero point.
So many hero points floating in the ether. This strange riddle and solution written in sort of strange scrawling words, written down by Raphael.
Good job, Cam.
I didn't actually expect anyone to catch on right away, and I expected this sort of fall to the wayside for now and be solved along the way, as it were. But yeah, it makes sense that Talford would have got it. So good work, Cam. Anyone confused as to how I figured that out?
Nerd.
Too much time on your hands?
At the same amount of time as y'all.
We're literally on a time crunch recording an episode.
Okay, so Talford figures that out, I assume.
Yep.
Do they say something about it?
Yeah, he will.
Raphael was researching the dark tapestry. Are any of you familiar with it?
Aelin sure ain't. No. I have heard of it a little bit. I mean, when studying some religion, but I really don't know much.
Oh, there's not a whole lot to know. It's the darkness between the stars, and it's said that's where true madness lies. Very few creatures are able to survive in the cold void of space. And many times those creatures are too bizarre, too aberrant for even the gods to comprehend. And they could potentially be one of the greatest threats to the known universe if they deigned to turn their attention towards us.
And here I thought the earth was flat.
No. That is a common misconception. Galarian is more of a rectangle.
I thought it was more of an oblate spheroid. But
No, it'd be an acute spheroid if it was a spheroid at all.
well, that's also getting pretty philosophical.
How would you know that? You don't even read.
I'll go back to not reading then.
Perhaps we should split up. I'd still like to follow the original lead of the genealogy, and then we should also look for the Dark Tapestry books.
Agreed. With little knowledge of the darkness, or otherworldly things as it is, I'd prefer to go down the genealogy route.
And break. Library montage. Push it to the limit.
I pull up my library and montage journal entry that I wrote, where you all split the party and do research. Not.
Was that the plan?
You tell me. What do you want to do?
We should follow the instructions and take the rod and the sphere to the same section as our dearly deceased Shuni and attempt to recreate it as best we can.
Seriously, I mean, just quick. Your powers combined as a party is so good. It's awesome. I'm just beside myself right now. This is great.
Montage.
No montage. No montage.
So yeah, Talford is going to start speed walking, still smoking, through the library, bits of ash dropping on the floor until we get to the proper place that he believes in his mind to be, where we can attempt to recreate this.
Krugga's just tearing books in half like phone books when no one's looking.
Eyes glued firmly on his feet so as not to get enraged.
All right, so you march forward to find the genealogy section. That's what you're going for?
Yeah.
Not looking for the kakiology section. There's the episode title.
All right, so you venture through the hallways of this library, and it is magnificent. As soon as you pass through a threshold into a hallway, you see this change in iconography and architecture, and you move into a new wing, and it is filled with all kinds of new things. There is this unbelievable sense as you travel through that this place encompasses the vast knowledge that it holds. Something just remarkable, even to Krugga. It's just one thing after another, one atmosphere after another, one culture after another, one influence after another. And you make your way following the sort of obvious signs that guide you to this section and their subsections and what have you. It's not unlike, a more complicated airport, but, easy enough to follow. And you eventually find yourself heading towards the genealogy section. And as you do, you come up to a very obvious entrance into the main portion. And you can see there's a basic barrier built in front of the threshold of portable bollards that connect with a thick red rope bar that bar the way, on the this sort of rope is a sign, or in front of the rope is a sign that's posted that says "Closed for maintenance. Installation of new safety barriers in progress." There's no sight of anyone in the area, not even a learned guard.
I guess we'll have to come back later.
Talford says as he lifts the rope and steps under it.
Aelin avoids notice and follows.
Krugga draws notice and he'll just go into normal boisterousness.
Walks through, just like wears the thing as a belt.
He sees Talford being super stealthy and just like taps his nose and completely makes an ass of himself trying to cross the rope.
I wish I'd taken a feat that would let everyone sneak better with me, but I did not. So,
I mean, they have Follow the Expert available if you have Expert in Stealth.
That's what Arthur's doing, is following Aelin as the expert.
There we go. I am that.
So you all enter despite the warning.
In spite.
Clearly.
In spite, thank you. And you walk into a beautiful and elaborate room with one major eye-catching feature. A massive circular pit in the center lined with bookshelves with a seemingly bottomless pit. Again, another beautiful map by Champeku. It absolutely replicates, except for the people buzzing about and the people sort of like involved in books floating in and out. It is nearly identical to what you saw in the recording rod recording.
Can you believe that clerk did not understand the word book and well in context and did not immediately point us here?
No. To be completely honest with you, no. It seems incredibly improbable, and I'm pretty sure that Steve was just being a dick.
Aelin steps forward towards the edge and just peers down.
Talford has a brief moment of considering pushing Aelin in, and then just like goes, nah, not yet.
Just see what happens, yeah. And it looks light just disappears at some point, and there's an impossible number of books below.
Arthur will activate the rod then.
You activate the rod with the recording core on it, and you witness the same scene, but this time, instead of on the beach of Weimar's Rod and Bow Club, you see it fit almost perfectly to the shape of this room. These images of people show up, floating around and doing their thing, and you watch these detectives sitting or walking around tables that aren't there now, but certainly were at one point. And as you watch through the motions of their whole conversation, where they reference, one of them being new and maybe one of them having a lone wolf complex, and their concerns about being a new guy that has been brought onto an elaborate case. The mention of someone named Smokey who's died along the way, and ultimately the question of why the genealogy section. And one of them says, well, it's obvious, isn't it? It's something that connects things. Genealogy. Why not a family tree? And while the other one thinks that that's a bit on the nose, the Aruxi lizard folk one says, well, how about this? And holds up a book, pointing at it. That was the last thing you saw. Now, as this scene repeats itself, you can see that the whole thing is actually so much more clear than it was, given you're in this room. There are less fluctuations. There are fewer interruptions in its whole imagery. And you can actually see, as he holds this book up, you can see the title of the book. And it reads, A History of Illegitimate Lineages, Volume 152. And following the words that the Afriti detective said, which were, I thought they were a myth, the Aruxi one says, and we all thought the Haravexes were just another well-to-do, out-of-touch, inbred family of aristocrats. Relatively harmless as far as money hoarders go. Says here this myth was just a servant class made up of illegitimate children, dedicated to their patron family.
Let me guess, the patron family is the Haravexes?
It's conveniently vague on that little detail. But you've seen the scenes of the ritual deaths left behind. What do you think? Coincidence?
The rod begins to vibrate suddenly and shake as it begins to power down, and there is a single word that can be seen on the book as he points at it. And the Afriti says,
Yeah, I've seen them, and a coincidence? I really don't know. I mean, we couldn't really be dealing with the Delarice, could we?
And that's what we're going to call it.
You son of a bitch.
And he kills the children.
The hostages all die.
Stemming the Tide is an actual play podcast of the Adventure Path Abomination Vaults and is produced by the Uncharted North Network. Stemming the Tide uses trademarks and/or copyrights owned by Paizo Inc., used under Paizo's community use policy. We are expressly prohibited from charging you to use or access this content. Stemming the Tide is not published, endorsed, or specifically approved by Paizo. For more information about Paizo Inc. and Paizo products, visit paizo.com. Music is composed by Will Savino and artwork by Greyhood. Stemming the Tide is recorded remotely using Foundry Virtual Tabletop. If you wish to connect with us or support this project and projects to come, we can be found at unchartednorth.ca, patreon.com/unchartednorth, and on all major social media platforms. Links to all credits can be found in the episode description and our website. Thanks for tuning in.